Are you waking up 2, 3, even 5 times a night to pee and wondering why your bladder never feels empty? It's not just your age. It's your nighttime habits. And most men over 60 are making at least one of these 5 mistakes without even realizing it. In this video, we'll list 5 nighttime habits that enlarge the prostate and how to avoid them so you can sleep deeper, longer, and with fewer bathroom interruptions. I'm Dr. James. After over 30 years helping older men sleep better and regain control over their bodies, I can tell you this: these habits are not permanent. And by the end of this video, you'll know how to calm your bladder, reduce inflammation, and finally give your prostate the rest it's been asking for. Stay with me till the last one, because it's the most common habit, and even most doctors overlook its effects. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know so I can make a better video for you. Now, let's get started. Mistake number 1: drinking too much water too late in the evening. Most men over 60 know that staying hydrated is important, but what they haven't been told is this: after a certain age, your body doesn't process water the same way. The kidneys begin to slow down. The bladder becomes more irritable and reactive, and the prostate, already enlarged in many men, becomes even more sensitive to internal pressure. Drinking too much water in the evening forces your body to handle a flood of fluid when it should be resting. The excess water doesn't just pass through, it lingers. It builds up quietly, stretches the bladder walls, and applies steady, mechanical pressure to the prostate. What begins as a harmless glass of water before bed becomes a nightly trigger for inflammation, urgency, and repeated awakenings. Worse still, the bladder's signaling system becomes confused. When it's repeatedly stretched at night, it learns to overreact, sending urgent messages to your brain even when it's not completely full. This results in a pattern called nocturia, waking multiple times to urinate, which leads to broken sleep, fatigue, and even higher blood pressure. And the damage doesn't stop there. Every time you wake up, your body switches into fight or flight mode. Stress hormones rise, inflammation increases, testosterone drops, melatonin production is suppressed, and your body, instead of healing through the night, begins to quietly deteriorate. Even your brain suffers, as poor sleep is directly linked to cognitive decline and memory loss. All of this from one innocent glass of water at the wrong time. The most overlooked part? An inflamed prostate doesn't heal overnight. If you stress it every evening with internal pressure, it remains swollen, irritated, and hyperactive. It's like trying to rest while someone presses gently but constantly on your abdomen. Never enough to scream, but always enough to keep you from peace. I once treated a man named Leonard, 72, who came into my office exhausted. He was waking up 4, sometimes 5 times every night to use the bathroom. He was convinced his prostate was failing him. We ran tests. There were no major abnormalities, no tumors, no severe obstruction, just mild enlargement, common for his age. What stood out, though, was his habit. Leonard drank 2 full glasses of water after dinner every night, believing it would help flush out toxins and keep his system clean. He had good intentions, but he was mistiming his hydration. I suggested a simple change: front-load his water intake earlier in the day. Start strong in the morning, drink consistently until mid-afternoon. Then slowly taper off. Within 1 week, Leonard was waking up only once per night. Within 2 weeks, he was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. His energy returned, his mind felt clearer, and most importantly, his fear faded. "I thought I had a prostate problem," he told me. "Turns out, I had a timing problem." The solution is surprisingly simple. Hydrate with purpose, not just habit. Aim to consume most of your fluids before 4 p.m. After that, be mindful. Sip, don't gulp. If you're thirsty after dinner, try eating water-rich foods like cucumber or watermelon. They hydrate without flooding the system. And most importantly, stop all fluids at least 90 minutes before bed, because your bladder isn't asking for more water at night. It's asking for peace. And your prostate will thank you for listening. Mistake number 2. Eating salty or processed foods too close to bedtime. At first glance, it seems harmless, a light snack before bed, just to calm the stomach or satisfy a small craving. But if that snack is high in salt, processed, or difficult to digest, the consequences on your prostate and bladder may be greater than you think. After the age of 60, your body's ability to regulate fluid balance becomes less efficient. The kidneys, tasked with filtering sodium from the blood, are slower. The result? Water is pulled into your tissues, swelling your legs, raising your blood pressure, and triggering the bladder to flush. That process doesn't happen instantly. It builds through the night. If you've consumed salty crackers, cheese, cold cuts, or frozen meals after 7 p.m., your body may spend the next 6 hours trying to get rid of the salt. And when does that fluid decide to leave? Right in the middle of your sleep cycle. That's why many older men wake up around 2 or 3 a.m., not just once, but repeatedly. And here's the part most men never hear. High sodium intake doesn't just increase urine output, it also irritates the bladder lining, makes it more sensitive to even small amounts of urine, and creates pressure that pushes directly against the prostate. Add in caffeine or sugar, often hidden in evening treats like chocolate or packaged desserts, and the problem worsens. Caffeine tightens the bladder muscles. Sugar fuels inflammation. And together, they activate a cascade of signals that say, "Wake up now, empty the tank," even when it's not full. For men with benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, this nightly cycle becomes a trap. More irritation, more urgency, less sleep, and a tired prostate that never truly rests. Over weeks or months, this leads to persistent swelling, hormone disruption, and poor recovery of both mind and body. One of my patients, Carlos, age 69, came to me with a simple complaint. "Doc, I can't sleep through the night anymore. I'm always running to the bathroom at 3 a.m. At first, he blamed aging, then maybe prostate issues. But when I asked about his nighttime habits, something clicked. Every evening around 9 p.m., Carlos would sit in his recliner with a small plate of crackers, cheddar cheese, and a few slices of salami, his guilty pleasure after dinner. It was a tradition, a comfort, but also a sodium bomb. That late-night ritual packed over 900 milligrams of sodium, nearly half the recommended daily intake, all consumed just hours before bed. It took time, but Carlos made a change. He swapped his salty snack for a warm cup of chamomile tea and half a banana. Within 2 weeks, the nightly urgency was reduced by more than half. Within a month, he was sleeping nearly uninterrupted. "I thought my bladder was the problem," he said. "Turns out it was my plate." The solution is simple but powerful. Avoid salty or processed foods after 7 p.m. If you feel hungry, choose something light, low in sodium, and gentle on the digestive system. Steamed vegetables, unsalted nuts, or water-rich fruits can calm the body without waking it later. And if you crave something warm, a bit of herbal tea may be just what your nervous system and your prostate needs. Because the issue isn't your appetite, it's your timing. And the body doesn't need punishment. It needs peace before sleep. A calm prostate begins in the kitchen. Mistake number 3, ignoring the urge to urinate before bed. This might seem trivial. After all, if you don't feel the urge, why bother? But here's what most men over 60 don't realize. The bladder and prostate don't always send clear signals until it's too late. As we age, the sensory nerves that control bladder urgency become duller during the day and more sensitive at night. That means even a modest amount of urine left in the bladder before bed can trigger a strong wake-up signal a few hours later, And the problem is more than just annoyance. It's about pressure. When you lie down with a half-full bladder, gravity shifts. Blood flows differently. The fluid pooled in your lower limbs during the day redistributes toward the core. The kidneys, now under less pressure, begin filtering more actively, a phenomenon called nocturnal diuresis. In other words, your body produces more urine while you sleep. And if you didn't fully empty beforehand, that adds up to urgency, discomfort, and frequent awakenings. Worse yet, an enlarged prostate can obstruct part of the urethra, leading to incomplete voiding. That leftover urine becomes a breeding ground for inflammation, bacterial irritation, and further bladder sensitivity. Over time, this silent cycle causes the bladder to become overtrained, responding to smaller and smaller amounts with increasing urgency. The result? Even if you don't drink too late, and even if you avoid salty foods, your body still wakes you up, because it was never truly emptied. And the real tragedy is, most men could avoid this with one simple trip to the bathroom before bed. David, 74, had spent the last 4 years waking up twice a night. He blamed aging, blamed stress, blamed everything but his pre-sleep routine. When I asked him directly, "Do you go to the bathroom right before bed?" he replied, "Only if I feel like I need to." That was the issue. He was relying on a sensation that had dulled with age, not realizing that proactive emptying, even with minimal urge, could reset the entire cycle. We ran a bladder scan after his evening routine. Sure enough, even when he didn't feel it, he was carrying almost 150 milliliters of residual urine into the night. That's enough to trigger at least one bathroom wake-up. I asked him to make it a ritual. Brush his teeth, dim the lights, and always empty his bladder, even if the urge wasn't strong. Within 10 days, he reported only one wake-up per night. By 3 weeks, most nights were uninterrupted. The difference? He stopped waiting for the signal. He took the lead. "I used to think my bladder had a mind of its own," David told me. "Now I realize it just needed me to listen ahead of time." So what's the takeaway? Before you climb into bed, give your bladder a final moment of relief, even if it feels empty, even if you already went an hour ago. Make it part of your sleep hygiene, like turning off the lights or locking the doors. This tiny habit can reset your body's rhythm, reduce pressure on the prostate, and help restore the kind of deep, healing sleep your body depends on. Because the truth is simple. A quiet bladder begins with a conscious decision, and peace at night begins with attention before sleep. Mistake number 4, sleeping in positions that put pressure on the lower abdomen. Most men never think twice about how they sleep. It's just something you've done your whole life. Left side, right side, stomach, maybe curled up tight. But after 60, your sleeping position can quietly sabotage your prostate health and your sleep without you ever realizing it. You see, as we age, the tissues around the pelvis, including the bladder, lower intestines, and yes, the prostate, become more sensitive to pressure. And the position you sleep in can either relieve that pressure or quietly increase it for 6 to 8 hours every night. When you sleep on your stomach, your body weight compresses the pelvic floor, the group of muscles and soft tissues that cradle the prostate. That pressure limits blood flow, increases tension in the bladder neck, and can even irritate the nerves that control urinary urgency. It's like resting your fist on a balloon all night long. Eventually, it responds. Even side sleeping in a tight, curled position, the common fetal curl, can draw your thighs up and press against the lower belly, creating similar strain. And because this happens during rest, most men never suspect that their sleeping position could be what's making their nights worse. Over time, poor posture during sleep can also affect the spine and sacral nerves, the very nerves responsible for bladder control and pelvic organ communication. This combination of mechanical compression and neurological disruption creates a vicious cycle. Your prostate becomes inflamed, your bladder grows more reactive, and your sleep becomes shallower and more fragmented. All from the position you assume without thinking. Richard, 70, had been a stomach sleeper since he was a boy. It helped him feel safe, anchored. But over the past year, he noticed he was waking more often during the night. Not always to pee, but with vague pelvic discomfort and a sense of restlessness. He tried cutting out caffeine, adjusted his dinner time, even limited fluids. Nothing seemed to work. During one appointment, I asked him a simple question: "How do you sleep?" He looked surprised, then said, "Always on my stomach." Why? That was the turning point. I explained how prolonged pressure on the pelvic area can worsen both bladder urgency and prostate swelling, especially when the body is trying to heal during rest. He agreed to try something new, sleeping on his back with a pillow under his knees for support, or gently on his side with a pillow between his legs. It wasn't easy at first. Decades of habit don't disappear overnight. But within 2 weeks, he noticed fewer interruptions. His lower abdomen felt more relaxed in the mornings. And after a month, he wasn't waking up out of discomfort anymore. "I thought I needed more pills," he told me. "Turns out I just needed a new position." Here's the truth. Your sleep posture matters. It's not just about spinal health. It's about giving your organs the space and circulation they need to heal. Avoid sleeping on your stomach or in tightly curled positions. Instead, support your body in ways that reduce pelvic tension. A small pillow under the knees, a relaxed back, or a side-lying position with leg support can make a profound difference. Because sleep isn't just about unconsciousness, it's about repair. And your prostate doesn't need pressure. It needs permission to rest. Mistake number 5, skipping your final bathroom visit before sleep. It might seem like a small decision, brushing your teeth, turning off the lights, climbing into bed without stopping by the bathroom one last time. But for men over 60, skipping that final trip to urinate can silently trigger a cascade of nightly disturbances. Here's why. As we age, the bladder loses both elasticity and sensitivity. It doesn't stretch as well, and it doesn't always send early warning signs. That means even when you feel empty, you could be carrying 100 to 150 milliliters of residual urine, just enough to become a problem a few hours later. Add to that an enlarged prostate, which already narrows the urethral passage and increases urinary resistance, and you have a situation where leftover urine exerts gentle pressure all night long. This pressure not only wakes you from sleep, but it keeps the bladder in a mild state of activation, a neurological alertness that prevents deep, healing rest. What's worse is that over time, consistently skipping that last bathroom trip teaches your bladder bad habits. It learns to hold urine longer than it should, creating incomplete emptying, bladder wall stretching, and even potential backflow into the kidneys in severe cases. And let's not forget the hormonal toll. Each time you wake up due to urgency, your brain releases cortisol, a stress hormone that lowers testosterone and raises inflammation. Men with nocturia, waking more than twice per night to urinate, are more likely to suffer from daytime fatigue, reduced sexual vitality, and a higher risk of falls due to grogginess and low nighttime blood pressure. The irony? Many of these issues can be significantly reduced by a 1-minute action, a final trip to the toilet, whether you feel the urge or not. Take Bill, for example. He's 76 and still sharp as a tack, but for years he struggled with sleep interruptions that he blamed on just getting older. He told me, "Doc, I go before bed, if I really have to." That was the problem. He was waiting for urgency, a signal that had dulled with age. When we checked his post-void bladder volume before sleep, it was consistently elevated. He was going to bed with a bladder that was never fully emptied. We made a simple adjustment. No matter how small the urge, visit the bathroom right before bed. We called it the closing shift. It was the last thing he did before pulling back the covers. Within a week, he noticed he was waking up 1 time instead of 3. Within a month, Many nights passed with zero interruptions. He looked me in the eye and said, "I didn't need more sleep aids. I just needed a better routine." So here's your reminder. Always give your bladder the last word before sleep, even if you just went an hour ago, even if the urge feels minor. This tiny ritual tells your body it's time to rest, not to react. It lowers pressure on the prostate, reduces the chance of nighttime urgency, and gives your nervous system permission to enter deep, restorative sleep. Because sometimes, healing begins not with big changes, but with small acts of awareness. Your prostate isn't asking for medication, it's asking for rhythm. Thank you for joining me today on this journey toward better prostate health and deeper sleep. We've uncovered 5 common nighttime habits that may quietly be affecting your comfort and explored simple ways to bring your body back into balance. Which of these habits spoke to you the most? Are you ready to make a small change tonight for a better tomorrow? Leave a comment and share one thing you're taking with you after watching this video. Your story may inspire someone else. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to stay connected. I'll see you in the next video.